this is the other version of the head-to-head conversation that was in that issue. And this was just, we had fun because the one guy, Vince Frost, a big name art director, is based in Sydney in Australia, and the other guy works at IPC Media in London at the top of a tower block, and we photographed the two of them having their phone conversation, which we then reprinted. But it was just quite enjoyable being able to mix pictures of Vince on the beach at Bondi on his phone, having one end of the conversation, and then the guy in his office at the other end of the conversation. Now, again, this is getting right down to kind of real detail. But the point, the underlying thing from my point of view, when I was putting it together, was I mean, they're having a conversation about what the prime mover in a successful magazine is. But for me, visually, I'm also asking, so who's the more successful? Is he more successful because he's working in the centre of London in this big office block with a big everything at his fingertips, or is the guy with the lifestyle down in Sydney on the beach, is he more successful? So there's a subtext there as well. There he is. Last example for a more recent version of the edition of the same magazine. This was the theme was identity, and we created a typeface. Every single character comes from the logo of a magazine. So again, it's just every headline. This is we reprinted the font. So you've got the A from Arena, E and a couple of E's from Esquire and L, Rolling Stones R. There'll be other ones you can recognise. There's the Y from New York. W. I mean, there's every single one comes from a magazine. So there, every single headline talked of identity, it echoed the theme. So that it's made up of different parts: colours, Marie Claire. Am I talking way over my time, or am I all right to? I've lost. I meant to have a look at it before I began. Yeah. Okay. Well, another couple of project that took the Carlos idea further. This was there's a story behind it. This is a project at John Brown again. This is a project we took. We got invited to pitch for a newsletter for BDO Story Hayward, a big global accountancy and finance services company. They wanted a newsletter, and I'm sure, you know, I've been involved in other financial newsletters, and I'm sure there are people in this room that maybe publish or involved in that kind of material. There is a way that they look. There's a way that there's a modus operandi in terms of what's expected in that market. It wasn't something we were particularly keen to do, but we took it on and we did it. But we also thought, well, we're going to show them the other version, the version that we would do if we were given a free rein. So we went back to them with a traditional newsletter type product. And we also took them this idea called 33 Thoughts. This is a later cover. But the idea behind this was, and in fact, you know, there are certain themes developing here above and beyond the idea of what is good design. But this was a list. This was a list of 33 items, that each issue would be 33 thoughts, and those thoughts might be a 20-word quote from a famous person, or they might be a 300-word piece from the chief executive of BDO. But the point was, it was a mixture of thought leadership and influential ideas that would keep the kind of clients and potential clients of a company like BDO, that would engage them and make them think, remind them of BDO's position. So I mean, there's the big four in this particular industry, and BDO are the one just below that. So they position themselves as being the creditable alternative, and they wanted to establish that alternative nature in print, and that's they bought this. They liked the idea of doing this. This idea of 33 Thoughts. They were nervous at first. We were going to work with another agency who would provide the financial content, and but we got to the point where we were able to produce an initial issue, and it was very much a notebook with typewriter fonts, and it was very much with little bits of illustration. But as you can see, each issue was 33 Thoughts, very clearly numbered, echoes of Grazia. I can't recall whether this was before or after Grazia, but it's just, you know, whoever thought, I mean, it wasn't an original idea for Grazia or us, it was just a typical classic editorial idea, but numbering pieces to provide a structure to what otherwise are very different pieces. So you've got big quotes, little pieces, and it's meant to be a notebook. It's meant to be a kind of a piece. Anything might be in there. You might add your own stuff to it. One of them, you know, and we played with the idea. Some of it wanted to look very realistic, but then you play with the idea of it being realistic. And this is an example of working with the client. They weren't sure about it, but we did it, and then they had a fantastic response to it, and it worked really, really well for them, and they let us off the leash. And by issue sort of 4 or 5, we were here. We were really designing it, really pushing it. And whilst you can still see in the background, there's a little bit of the idea of the lined notebook, etc. We're really building on the content. So a bit like in my rather basic manner of changing the font of what is designed. The quote here is all presented that reflects the idea of charm, but it's the same basic idea. And if you're wondering why the numbers have got so high, the idea was that across the year there'd be 3 issues, and you get 99 thoughts in 3 issues, and then for Christmas you get one big special thought. So you get 100 thoughts in the year, so that's why it's got 57, 58. But it's still basically the same idea. It's, on the spread here you've got a quote and you've got a long piece. So it's content wrapped up in one simple idea. And it won a lot of awards. It did really, really well for them while it lasted. But this is what I'm talking about in terms of the design becoming content.